Welcome back to Trading Hour. The next company and stock on our radar is KRBL. Now, the company reported a pretty strong set of numbers for the third quarter, and this was right from the top line onwards, growth in both parts of the business, domestic as well as exports. To find out some more details and to get a little more color on the performance and the outlook going ahead, we have with us Ashish Jain, CFO at KRBL. Ashish, good to have you on the show. Thanks for joining in. So I want to start by understanding this top line growth that you've done. Pretty solid, 33% growth, about 1,500 crores in revenue. How much of this is volume growth and how much is value? Because rice prices, particularly basmati prices, they've been going up as well, right?
Yeah, you're right. So we've been seeing the trends in basmati prices, I would say, for the past 3 quarters or so. And so to that extent, both trends are reflected in our growth as well. However, having said that, we are seeing strong volume growth, both on the domestic as well as at the export market. And I think an interesting data point to look at here would be what the country is seeing as a whole. If you look at basmati export numbers in the April to December period, volume exports of basmati have increased by 17%. So strong volume growth overall, which is reflected in our results as well.
And what's the kind of increase in realizations and prices that you've seen for your portfolio? If you could also give us an idea on pricing, both for the domestic business as well as for your export markets.
Yeah, so we've seen, if you look at it on a year-on-year basis, definitely the realizations have improved. We typically don't quantify that. Now, if you look at it from a business segment perspective, in the domestic market, we've not taken any price increases in Q3. We'll see how it goes in Q4. From an export market perspective, also the prices have gone up, and we kind of see this trend holding up at least for the next quarter or so.
Ashish, afternoon. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, your margins have declined 18% versus 22%, and this is despite a strong top-line growth of 16%. Can you explain that?
Sure. So I think a couple of reasons. One is the product mix is different. So the quarter 2 had a larger share of exports in our overall revenue as against quarter 3. Second, our input prices have gone up. So if you look at paddy as well as rice, the input costs have gone up since quarter 2. And third is that we've seen some increase in expenses, but which is mostly volume related. So for example, we've seen higher cost of sales, etc., going up in quarter 3.
Okay, that is on the margins. Ashish, thanks for joining us. This is Pavitra. If we can speak just about the export markets, can you tell us what you expect there? Because sequentially versus last quarter, there has been a little bit of a decline. So can you tell us what you expect in terms of FY23 revenue? I think just for Q3, it was around 520 crores for the exports.
Yeah, so there's been a small drop in exports as compared to Q2 of the current year. But having said that, our branded exports continue to be strong. Our largest markets, which are Saudi as well as UAE, are responding well. The drop that you see vis-a-vis Q2 is largely because there was a share of non-basmati export in Q2, which is not there in Q3. So that's what's caused the decline in Q3. We typically don't comment on overall, forecasts, etc. But like we mentioned earlier, we see the export side continuing to be strong. And therefore, you will definitely see exports far better than what we saw last year.
So FY23 exports better than FY22, but just Q4 exports, will there be a pickup compared to December quarter?
Q4 is a key quarter for us because that's when we have Ramadan in the key Middle East markets. That's a festive season in that part of the world. So we are hoping to see higher orders, but let's see.
Okay. I also am picking up that your inventory levels are higher, right, when you compare it to what we saw in FY22. So can you tell us what is the average holding cost that you're working with?
Sure. Yeah, so, if you look at last year, we were sitting on relatively low inventories. That's because the prices were high. So in the current season, we've kind of provided for that. Also, like I mentioned, we are seeing strong volume demand. So we've built up inventories in expectation of that demand. So, overall, if you look at our inventory, it'll be about 15 to 20% average cost of purchase this year would be higher than last year.
What's the expectation on input costs in Q4? Because you indicated that Q3 input costs were higher, raw material and logistics. What's the expectation for input costs in Q4?
So we expect that trend to continue because, if you look at the last buying season, which we just completed in the middle of Jan, the paddy prices were up, and which is one of the reasons why overall rice prices are also up. Like I mentioned, we don't see any break of that trend. So we expect continued levels of input prices in quarter four as well.
Will that mean margins in Q4 will be similar to Q3 or even lower?
Should be similar.
Okay.
All right. I think you would also mention that, your gross margin was a little bit affected because of a change in the product mix. Could you detail that for us? What is that change?
Yeah, so I think two things. One is that exports have a lower share in our revenue in Q3 as compared to Q2. And, the basket of exports is different from what we sell in the domestic market. So that has its own impact on the margins. And otherwise, it's general. I mean, it's a quarter-on-quarter change in product mix, nothing specific.
All right, Ashish, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us and taking us through the outlook for your company going forward. Varun Beverages is popping on the screen. The net profit has come in at 75 crores versus 16 crores that we saw last quarter. The stock will also come up for you. It's seen a sharp spike after its results. That's the only figure I have now, but our team is flashing more from, the earnings that came through for Varun Beverages. The net profit figure, of course, looks strong at 75 crores. But on that note, from Rima, me and the entire team, thanks for tuning in. You have Halftime Report after this short break.